why do you float, and how did you come into floating or find out?
Okay. I heard about floating through Joe Rogan probably about 6 years ago.
Podcast.
Yeah, and then I saw the Samadhi, I think, through YouTube, and definitely was terrified to go in there because I was going to hallucinate, and did not want to do any of that. I didn't want to hallucinate at that time in a box of water. Weird, but I held off for a few years, and Float 60 actually, I saw them on Groupon. My girlfriend got it for me for a gift certificate because she always knew I wanted to try it. But so I tried it out, loved it, didn't freak out. But now I float mostly because of physical soreness, and like I'm just I do it a lot for recovery.
Recovery from
biking, from working out.
Okay.
I'm a huge
you do CrossFit.
Do CrossFit, yeah. I'm a huge believer in Epsom salt baths before I even experienced floating. So I'm a big believer, and that is just a really great tool as for recovery.
Yeah.
And just to bounce back a little bit quicker. And I've noticed I'm able to recover, and where some people are hurting a little bit more when I see we do the same work, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? But yeah, that's definitely allowed me to bounce back and be able to, carry out my life and what I want to do more. And I think that that's a huge benefit to anything. Anything that gives you more than it takes is always beneficial.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So using it for recovery, do you have like a routine, like a certain frequency at which you float? Like, when do you go float?
When I can get in here. But typically I do like to go once a week. I like to at least do that. Try to get it once a week, and if I can get in twice or just, that's amazing. I've noticed huge benefits within my mood when I do twice a week, because I know I've noticed that I'm a little bit calmer in handling every situation around me when I float, at least once or twice a week.
So you would say the benefits are lasting? Like, do they integrate into your life?
Yeah, so I've noticed that they integrate in multiple ways. Just leaving, I'm a little bit floaty and like a little bit more carefree than I typically am. I notice I laugh a lot harder too. It's weird. Yeah, like I feel like a kid, and anything that can make me feel like a kid again, I feel like is something worthwhile.
So there's kind of like an afterglow to it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's where I see a lot of my benefits. I mean, mentally, I go through a lot of introspection in there. Sometimes I don't go through anything, and I just am like, zoned out. But it allows introspection inside the tank, but also when I come out, I've noticed like just a great deal of like compassion, and I've noticed like the physical layers that I have of like the anxieties that I carry, and just like being a human being, you kind of just become a little bit hardened. And I think physically you wear them, and then when you have a tool that allows you to kind of relax, you become a little bit more relaxed with everything else that you experience in life, and that's, being on the red line with a crowded full of smelly people, including myself, and so yeah, I think that's probably the integration outside of floating is what's really I've noticed a difference.
Okay. Would you say that there's, feel free to say no, but was there a marked difference between like your first float and your fourth float, or like your first float and your most recent float? Like, how has floating changed at all for you since you first started?
Yeah, absolutely. The first float I had, I was like, what the hell is this? I think I got out once, and I was just kind of like, what time is it? I felt like I needed to like be doing something else. And I got out, checked the time, got back in, and allowed myself to, at least enjoy the hour. Now I feel like I've noticed a significant difference. Now I'm like, I don't want to get out. I feel like it's like that nap state where you're just like, when you first wake up in the morning, you don't have to rush anywhere, but you're just like, I'm gonna lay here for a little bit longer. Yeah, so it's like, it's kind of at that nap state. I feel like I don't necessarily want to get out, but I know that I have to, because I have to go back to work.
Okay. And then just last thing, any sort of anything that you would tell someone who's thinking about floating for the first time?
Yeah, try it with an open mind. Yeah, I would say just give it a shot. And as far as advice or like, I would say for people that have a mental, like they're just constantly going mentally and have a hard time relaxing, I've always said like come in a little bit more physically exhausted than you typically would be, and try maybe an evening float. And then, but allow yourself that time to just give it to yourself. Give yourself that hour and a half to just be there and know that whatever you have going on outside of that hour and a half, it'll be there still. But just give yourself that time.
Separate.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Cool. What's your favorite tank?
I go back from the pod to the Samadhi.
Which one was the first one you did, the Samadhi?
No, I did actually room 1 first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I did the wave room. I loved it, but definitely I've noticed I like to be enclosed and I like the tighter spaces.
Okay.
Which was maybe that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I would recommend just doing it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.